Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community of the Mountains in Grass Valley, California, where it is a lovely, hot, and clear, yay, first day of August. August? Really? Already? Crazy. This is our Sunday service, Zoom style. My name is Beth Karow, and I am joined in the sanctuary by the intrepid AV team of Bob Miller and Gary Lauer, with music director Jordan Thomas Rose, as well as help from Wendy Wernig, Jim Perkins, and Carmen Riley, and Kevin Tarsa. As we continue to explore the theme of our summer services, Voices from Near and Far, this is a far week, and we are blessed to be hearing from the Reverend Meg Barnhouse, who serves as senior minister at the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Austin, Texas. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let's begin our worship together with a favorite hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see the faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Well, my heart is certainly in a holy place. I hope yours is too. Pre-pandemic, when this room was filled with churchgoers each Sunday, and Zoom was just some strange meeting platform that certainly nobody I knew used, I would often say in my welcome that this sanctuary was made holy by our presence together. It was true then, and it's true now, even though the walls of this building themselves are not currently containing all of us, and the rows of chairs have been stacked to make room for cameras, microphones, and cables. Still, we have found a way to be together, and we truly are blessed with love and amazing grace. If you're here for the first time or the umpteenth, or somewhere in between, welcome. If you are familiar with Unitarian Universalism, Or if you are brand new to the idea of a religion not founded on theism or doctrine, but principles and a call to social justice, welcome. Whomever and however you love, how you pray, and even if you don't call it praying, whatever paths you have taken to be logged on here today, welcome. If you are busy or bored, full of faith or full of doubt, if you are buoyant or burdened by stresses, worries, or ill health, either mentally or physically or both, welcome. Our UUCM community strives to be a welcoming community where our differences are celebrated and our minds, hearts, and hands are open in supportive fellowship.
Good morning, I'm Meg Barnhouse, and I'm thrilled to be one of your voices from afar. And greetings from Austin, Texas to Grass Valley, California. Reverend Kevin Tarsa has asked me to come speak to you all, and I'm thrilled to be able to do that. So, greetings.
Good morning. Lengthening summer light does not lift the shadows that have fallen on humanity over the world. We relight our chalice flame to reignite a spirit of radical optimism, knowing it takes us all living what matters to dispel those who would divide us. All manner of things will be well if we make them well. May our chalice communities embody the right relationships our world so desperately needs. I invite you to light your home chalice now.
"170 years ago, the Nisenan people negotiated the Camp Union Treaty with Indian agents from the United States government as a means to survive. In a secret session, the U.S. Congress chose not to ratify this and 17 other treaties, a fact hidden until 1907, leaving the Nisenan landless and without promised support. In our commitment to be in respectful and right relationship with the descendants of this area's indigenous people, we place a small basket of black oak acorns on our altar each week. In so doing, we remind ourselves and acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible, that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and that the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As residents or visitors in Nisenan land, let us support the Nevada City Rancheria's Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition.
I love words. I love the sounds of them, their meanings, their histories. I love the rhymes and rhythms and how, when they are set to music, a song is born. I love to talk, surprise, surprise, and I love to listen. Bonus points for regional accents. I love to text, to write, to play word games. And being a lover of words, I find myself drawn to those who love words too. Many years ago, my late sister-in-law left a note on the windshield of my VW bus one day, and all that was written on it were these 3 lines: realize, realize, and realize. Isn't that great? Even better, I had no idea where that note came from until maybe as much as a year or 2 later, when I happened to show it to her, and she told me it was she who had left it for me. Mystery solved. Another friend of mine, Stargazer Lee, is a true lover of words, and she often fine-tunes them in weird and wonderful and wise ways. For instance, once when she was giving one of her epic night sky talks, showing us the stars with her laser pointer and telling us all kinds of stories about what we were looking at, she asked us to please consider our words of exclamation. We kept saying, whoa, whoa. And she suggested that instead of whoa, which is how you get a horse to stop, you're reining it in, we switch to saying wow, which invites more wonder in. Wow, wow, wow. You see how that works? She also thinks that we should switch up the use and definitions of the words awesome and awful, because awesome, or some awe, it's just some, right? It's not as great as being full of awe, so why don't we say awful? I mean, why stop at some when you can be full of awe? Awful, fun. Well, small changes in words like that can really make big shifts in meaning and understanding. And I have some more friends here today to help me illustrate the power of words to hurt and to heal and to transform. Carmen and Jim, will you please join me up here? I have some paper here that I'm going to give you. Thank you. There you go. And we're going to use, at home, you might want to get a piece of paper too, if you'd like. You're more than welcome to. We're going to use the paper to illustrate the power that words can have to make a lasting impression on us. I'm going to say some things to each of you, and every time I say something hurtful, I want you to crumple up your paper a bit. You can crumple your paper even if I'm not talking directly to you, because, as we know, all hurtful words have the power to hurt others, not just the person who they were intended for, right? Okay, so this may be hard for you, and I know it's going to be hard for me because I actually really care for both of you a lot, and they've agreed to do this, right? You're okay with this? Just checking? Okay. All right, here we go. Jim, you're really not very bright, are you? Carmen, nobody really likes you, you know. Jim, you talk too much. Nobody wants to hear all that you've got to say. Carmen, you dress weird. Oh, that was harsh. And look at that paper. Can you hold up your paper so we can see? All balled up. Uh-oh. Well, now I'm going to apologize for what I said. And every time I do, go ahead and uncrumple your paper a bit more. And just like the insults directed to others can affect anyone who hears them, so too can an apology. Kind words can also affect. So you too can uncrumple even if it's not directed directly to you. So you ready for me to clear the air? Me too. Jim, I'm sorry I said you weren't very bright. I'm feeling pretty dull myself these days, and maybe I'm just projecting it onto you. Carmen, I'm sorry I said no one likes you. The truth is, I've been feeling pretty unlovable lately. Jim, I'm sorry I said you talk too much. I've been told that my whole life, and it feels terrible to me to think that people don't want to hear what I have to say. I guess I was trying to make my pain less by giving some of it to you. And Carmen, I'm sorry I said you dress weird. Honestly, I really like your style, and I might be just a tiny bit envious of the way you always look, so well put together. Well, I apologize for all my hurtful words, and they were gracious enough to accept them. They didn't have to, but who really wants to sit with those kind of bad feelings? And the papers, did they get smoothed out? Well, yeah, mostly. Only they do have rough spots and wrinkles now, don't they? Thank you both for your help, for playing along with an admittedly not very fun game. You can take your papers and go sit down now. Thank you. Folks, can you see how words matter? Some of them we might carry with us our whole lives, hurtful or helpful. And sometimes what we say in passing could have an unintended, lingering impact that we might never imagine. It's got to be impossible for anyone to go through their whole life without the paper of their heart getting crumpled and uncrumpled from time to time. Later in the service, we're going to show that even wrinkled and worn paper can be beautiful, inspiring, and full of awe. Maybe even awful?
Good morning. This story today is called I Wish I Were a Butterfly by James Howe, illustrated by Ed Young. For most of the crickets in Swamp Swallow Pond, sunrise was a happy time. They came out of their tunnel-dark homes and celebrated the light of day with a fiddler's song. But the littlest cricket was sad. I want to stay here, he told his mother. In the dark? She asked. What will you do in the dark? You must come outside to make music. Then I won't make music, said the littlest cricket defiantly. I don't have anything to sing about anyway. You don't want to come outside? You don't want to make music? The next thing you know, his mother scolded, you won't want to be a cricket. The littlest cricket sighed. Had his mother guessed his secret? I wish I were a butterfly, he said softly, but his mother didn't hear. Outside with you this minute, she said. The littlest cricket knew better than to argue. Out into the bright daylight he went, but he did not make any music. The sound of the other crickets fiddling was more than he could bear. Why are they so happy being crickets? He asked out loud. Perhaps they don't know what I do. And what is it that you know? Asked a passing glowworm. The littlest cricket said, I know I am ugly. All crickets are ugly. Who told you such a thing? The glowworm asked. The frog who lives at the edge of the pond. He told me that I am the ugliest creature he ever saw. Well, said the glowworm, inspecting the littlest cricket with care, you are not the handsomest thing in the world, but you are far from the ugliest. Look at me. I'm no beauty myself. But you will change into a lightning bug, the littlest cricket said, while I will always be a cricket, an ugly, ugly cricket. I wish I were a butterfly. There's no use in wishing for what can't be, said the glowworm, going on his way. Being a cricket seems fine enough to me. That's easy for him to say, said the littlest cricket. He will be lightning bug one day, and the frog who lives at the pond will never find him ugly. What do you care what the frog who lives at the edge of the pond has to say? A ladybug asked from atop a daisy. If he told me I was ugly, I wouldn't care one bit. But who would ever say you were ugly? Asked the littlest cricket. Everyone can see how lovely you are. I am the color of a lump of dirt, but you are the color of laughter, if such a thing could be. This amused the ladybug. Perhaps you are right, she said. But then you must learn to be content with what you are and not mind what a silly old frog tells you. That's easy for you to say, said the littlest cricket, as the ladybug flew away. Oh, how I wish I were a butterfly. He jumped onto a lily pad and drifted across the pond. I'll go talk to the old one, he thought. She'll help me. But seeing his reflection in the water, the littlest cricket started to cry. Why am I so ugly? He asked his mirrored self. Why can't I be a dragonfly like me? The cricket looked up to see a dragonfly darting about overhead. I couldn't help but hear you moaning and groaning, said the dragonfly. It isn't right to be envious of others. You know, it's true that I am a magnificent creature, but so are you in your own way, I am sure. Humph, said the littlest cricket. You fly around with your whispery wings and your body all covered with jewels and tell me that I am magnificent? Please, Mr. Dragonfly, go away. You don't understand. You can't understand. I wish I were a butterfly. Well, you're not a butterfly and never shall be, the dragonfly said firmly. And wishing is a waste of time. The littlest cricket blinked, and the dragonfly was gone. It's easy to be happy, he thought, when you are a glistening dragonfly. It's easy to be happy if you are anything but an ugly cricket like me. In the middle of her web, on the other side of Swamp Swallow Pond, the old one was waiting. I am good at waiting, she told the cricket once. It is a spider's life, spinning and waiting, waiting and spinning. Today, when the old one saw the littlest cricket hop off the lily pad, she could see how sad he was. It's a lovely day, the old one called out. And lovely days are too short to wear long faces. What's wrong, my friend? I am ugly, said the littlest cricket. Who ever told you that? Asked the spider. The frog who lives at the edge of the pond. Said that I am the ugliest creature. Oh, how I wish I were a butterfly. The old one began to laugh. Butterflies are pretty enough to look at, she said. But they are no more special than you. Not special, cried the littlest cricket. They are the most beautiful creatures in Swamp Swallow Pond, and maybe in all the world. I wish I were as special as that. The old one said nothing, but continued to laugh. I thought you would understand, said the cricket. You don't envy the butterfly because you're so beautiful yourself. The spider stopped laughing at once. You think I'm beautiful? She asked. The cricket nodded. But I've been told that I am the ugliest creature in Swamp Swallow Pond, maybe in all the world. The cricket looked surprised. Did the frog who lives at the edge of the pond tell you that? Oh, not only the frog, said the old one. Why, if I were to believe what everyone says about me, I would think myself quite ugly. But I don't believe everyone, you see, and I certainly don't believe that grumpy old frog who lives at the edge of the pond. I believe you, because you are my friend. You think I am beautiful, and so I am. You are beautiful, said the littlest cricket, but I'm as ugly as can be, and I still wish I were a butterfly. The old one asked the little cricket to follow her to the water's edge. Look, she said, what do you see? A beautiful you and an ugly me, replied the cricket. What do you see? Two beautiful friends. The cricket gazed at himself for a long time. Am I really beautiful? He asked at last. To me you are, said the old one, more beautiful than any butterfly I'll ever see. The littlest cricket looked back at the reflection, and to his surprise, his ugliness began to fade away. Suddenly, a gust of wind rippled the water. Look, said the cricket, turning around. Your web! The wind has blown away your web! Ah, well, said the spider, then I must begin again. Wait and spin, spin and wait. It's a spider's life. But it would make the time pass much more quickly if I had some music to work to. As the old one began to spin a new web, the littlest cricket began to fiddle. And a butterfly passing by heard the sound and said, What beautiful music that creature makes. I wish I were a cricket.
The weekly ritual of sharing of joys and sorrows continues to strengthen our connections to each other, even though we've had to adapt it, like so many other things, to accommodate our changing situation. In the gentle space of the music and video, I invite you to take as many deep breaths as you wish, while you simply allow whatever wants to surface. You may find in sharing what you're holding that this community in turn holds you, celebrating, grieving, supporting each other. If you would like to name what you are carrying in your heart this morning, you can do so by typing into the chat window and pressing the return button. When the music ends, I will be reading some of what is written. I've lit the red candle on the altar to recognize the enormous impact that the COVID-19 pandemic continues to have here at home and all around the world. In just the last 7 days, there have been well over 500,000 new cases and more than 2,000 deaths in the United States alone. May the healers and helpers feel supported, and may the suffering find comfort. Today, our sharing included a greeting from Marilyn Winters. And Frank, Lawrence, and Renee are expressing the joy that both of their kids are coming home for a few days. Martha is a first-time visitor in Southern California and finds that this Zoom meeting is a joy to her. So thank you all. Lisa says she's grateful for all the kind people. And then in true UUCM spirit, Martha gets welcomed by several of us. Nancy today, shares that she is tired of COVID and especially fed up with the nasty Delta variant. I think that's a universal feeling. Shannon enjoyed floating down the Bear River with her daughter and her friends visiting from New York City. Wow. Julia Park Tracy writes that her beloved aunt, who is 85, has been in grave condition with either West Nile or viral meningitis for 2 weeks now, but she seems to be turning the corner. She's so grateful and cautiously optimistic. Bonnie was transported to the ocean. Oh, through the video, yeah, such a beautiful sight. Vitamin C, we call that in our family. And Martha is feeling relief that her unvaccinated son's COVID case last week was mild and he's well again. She's still unable to understand those who choose not to get a vaccine. For all that has been shared, and for all that remains in our hearts, perhaps too tender to verbalize, may we know ourselves supported by the community that we are, even now, co-creating into being. There is a prayer that is often attributed to St. Francis, but it's entirely absent from his writings. St. Francis died in 1226, but this prayer in its present form can only be traced back to 1912. Regardless of the author, it is well known by Catholics and non-Catholics alike. It's often called the St. Francis Prayer or Peace Prayer. The senior minister of the UU Society of Sacramento, Roger Jones, adapted the prayer to speak to a wider spectrum of religious beliefs. And similarly, for the 2018 World Communications Day, Pope Francis wrote an adaptation as well. And I spent a long time toggling between the two prayers to choose one for this service. Finally, I just settled on them both. I mean, is there such a thing as too much prayer? No, not today anyway. First, from Pope Francis. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Help us to recognize the evil latent in a communication that does not build communion. Help us to remove the venom from our judgments. Help us to speak about others as our brothers and sisters. You are faithful and trustworthy. May our words be seeds of goodness for the world. Where there is shouting, let us practice listening. Where there is confusion, let us inspire harmony. Where there is ambiguity, let us bring clarity. Where there is exclusion, let us offer solidarity. Where there is sensationalism, let us use sobriety. Where there is superficiality, let us raise real questions. Where there is prejudice, let us awaken trust. Where there is hostility, let us bring respect. Where there is falsehood, let us bring truth. Amen. And second, from Roger Jones. Spirit of life, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. Divine Teacher, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying to selfishness that we are born to a fuller life. I invite you now to sing.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. May all be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May all be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May all be peaceful and at ease. May all be whole.
At First UU Austin, we have been having some practice outside in peopling. A lot of us haven't been around people at all for more than a year. And so we've had 2 outdoor coffee hours. The first one was coffee hour with no coffee because we all kept our masks on. And the second one, we had actual coffee, which was such a joy because masks, following the science, were optional. It is very strange being around people in real life again. You know, when you're on a Zoom conversation, one person talks at a time, right? Their little box lights up and everybody listens to what they're saying. But when you're in real life with a group of people, you have 2 people talking over here and then 2 people talking over here, and you can hear both conversations and you have to decide which one do I want to enter into. And there are overlapping conversations, and people overhear something and they say, oh yeah, that's happened to me. And it's a completely different experience that we used to be used to, but we're not anymore. And so what I want to talk about this morning is, as long as we're practicing talking again, we might as well think about talking with some kind of intention, some kind of spiritual intention. And so I want to talk about a concept that's in Buddhism called right speech. Now, you all know I'm not an expert on Buddhism. I'm a white, raised Protestant, middle-class woman who is fascinated by Buddhism, and I like to read about it and think about it, and I like to think about things with you that I've read. And so right speech is what I want to talk about this morning. Now, the first element of right speech is abstaining from lying. Okay. So I remember, my 2 sons are in their 30s now, but I remember the first time after the age of reason that one of them lied to me. And so we sat down and had this conversation. I said, listen, if you lie to me, you're welcome to, and you may if that's your choice, but what's going to happen after that is this. I can't trust what you say to me anymore. And this delightful freedom and trust that we've had between the 2 of us is going to go away. And I'm going to have to question you a little more. I'm going to have to be more suspicious of you. I'm going to have to watch you a little more carefully. And I don't think that's going to be fun for either one of us. And so if we can go down the road of not lying to each other, I won't lie to you, you don't lie to me, then the ground between us will be strong, and I can trust what you say, and you can trust what I say. And that will make us both happier, I think. The second thing is that when you lie, and I didn't talk to my child about this because that would have been too long a conversation, which many of us have had with our parents growing up. When you lie in your life, it's as if you are pouring poison into your life stream, because we all live downstream from our actions. So picture a pipe that's just dumping effluvia into the stream of your life, and it's going to come downstream for you. You're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to either remember what you said in your lie, or you're going to have to fix your lie, or remember who you said it to. If you are a person who tells the truth, as you know it, and if people know that about you, it makes you a treasure. And when you find someone who tells you the truth, it makes them a treasure in your life. So I want to say something here. A Buddhist teacher named Eric Kolvig, I like reading him very much, he points out that the Buddha didn't say, if you lie, you're bad. Buddhism doesn't say that. Buddhism just says, here are actions that lead to disappointment and unhappiness. And here are actions that lead to creativity and happiness. And you don't have to believe it. You just try it and see if it works for you. I like that. And so lying makes us sick. But one of the good things about Buddhism is that it says you want to get well, just do the things that make you happier and notice what your words are saying. Just gently wonder, what would this situation be like if my words were truer? You don't have to make any resolutions. You just wonder, what would this situation be like if my words were as true as they could be? The second thing that the Buddhist teachings say after please abstain from lying in their talk about right speech is abstain from divisive speech. Now, we all have a pretty good idea of what that is. It's speech that divides one group from another. It's speech that categorizes one group of people, either ethnic group or an economic group or a political group or a religious group as them. And they're different from us. And I think about the people who differ politically from me and how easy it is to think, how could they even think those things? How could they even believe those things? How can they act like that? How can they even think that they're right in the littlest, tiniest way? And that is divisive because they are us and we are them. And anything that's going to build happiness in this world is going to increase the inclusivity of what you mean when you say the word us. Doesn't mean we don't disagree with one another, but it does mean we don't think there is something deeply wrong with you, with the way you believe, with the way you act, with your culture. There's something deeply wrong. You're different from me. We are all us. And in fact, if you're more indigenous in your mindset, according to my understanding, which is limited, us includes also all the animals and all the trees and the rocks and the rivers. Broaden our idea of us. But that's all macro, and I want to talk also about more intimate divisive speech. Here's how that goes. So, I'm worried about my sister, or I'm mad at my sister, and I tell my mother something about my sister. Now, I say to my mother, you mustn't tell her, you must keep this a secret between us. I've set up a division. Because next time my mother and sister are together, my mother knows something about my sister that my sister doesn't know that my mother knows. You following? And then my mother has to behave as if she doesn't know this thing. So I've put her in the position of lying to my sister. That is a common way that families divide one another, and it makes it as if there's a road between my sister and my mother, and now there's this big boulder in the middle of the road that whenever they have a conversation, they have to make their way around the boulder. And my mother knows what it is, but my sister's going to sense it and not know what it is, which is terrible. It was an unhappiness creating thing that I did if I had done that. So abstain from divisive speech. Then there's abstain from abusive speech. We all know what that is too. I know you all have neighborhood chat lists like I do, and someone put in the chat that there was this terrible man in a white pickup truck in the Chick-fil-A pickup line in my little town. And he had noticed that she'd gotten in the wrong line, and he started screaming at her, screaming that lasted more than a minute. And then he got out of his car and started screaming at her some more. And wasn't that terrible? And yes, it was terrible. But when people speak to you abusively, it tells you more about them than about you. And a lot of times, people don't speak to us abusively. A lot of times it's we who are speaking to our own selves abusively. Because maybe we grew up with a parent or guardian who spoke to us and told us we would never amount to anything, or we were bad people, or that nobody would love us. And we now hear those terrible things in our own voices. So let's be mindful not only of how we speak to one another, but how we speak to ourselves as well, and vow to refrain from abusive speech. Sometimes we are tempted to tell the truth to someone, as RuPaul might say, to let them have it. It could feel really good at the time to let somebody have it. However, as spiritual and spirited people who are seeking to be happy and make the world a happier place, harsh truths should be examined in the mind and heart and spirit until they can become no less true, but gentler. And that we can tell someone a truth gently, while at the same time being willing for them to tell us a truth gently about ourselves. It doesn't make it less destructive if it's true and it's told in a weaponized way. So we vow to refrain from abusive speech. Now, the last part, this is the part I have trouble with. This is the part I want to fight with. Because this fourth element of right speech is we vow to abstain from idle chatter. Well, my goodness, I'm from the South. Having a small conversation in line at the grocery store is polite. Asking somebody, how's your mom and them? That's how we do it. It's not idle chatter, it's community building. Also, we tell stories. We just talk about our lives and tell stories, and it's not for any reason other than just building up the web between two people or among more people. You chat with each other. So how do you know what idle chatter is? Well, I read a story about a man who decided that he would not speak if it wasn't necessary. I'm not going to speak unless it's necessary. And then he went silent for the next 13 years. And the people around whom I was reading that story, they were like, oh man, that is really spiritual. And I'm like, no, that's not really spiritual. I hope he wasn't married. I hope he didn't have a family. I hope he didn't have many friends, because in order to build relationships with your family and your partners and your friends, you've got to talk a little bit. You got to say, how was your day? You've got to say, I love being with you. You've got to say, man, that was a great job you did on the yard. I love how the flowers are looking. You have to say things like that. Those things are necessary, I would tell that man. I hope he doesn't even have a dog, because even with a dog, you have to talk to them sometimes. Now, a cat, not so much, but I hope maybe if he had a cat, he would at least just pat it once in a while. Oh, was it necessary? So what's idle chatter? I don't know. I think, is it necessary, is the wrong question, if you're trying to figure out what idle chatter is. I happen to be a big fan of idle chatter. And so I would be a very bad Buddhist in that way. The Talmud says, God spoke to the tongue and said, all the other parts of the body I have made standing up, but you I have made lying down, and I have built walls around you. The word is powerful, and it can destroy, and it can build up. I would like to end with the reading of a beautiful poem by a 12th century Turkish poet named Yunus Emre. He writes, a single word can brighten the face of one who knows the value of words. Ripened in silence, a single word acquires a great energy for work. War is cut short by a word, and a word heals the wounds. And there's a word that changes poison into butter and honey. Let a word mature inside yourself. Withhold the unripened thought. Come and understand the kind of word that reduces money and riches to dust. Know when to speak a word and when not to speak at all.
What the dew is to the flower, gentle words are to the soul, and a blessing to the giver, and so dear to the receiver, we should never withhold. Gentle words kindly spoken often soothe the troubled mind, while the links of love are broken by words that are unkind. Then thou, O gentle spirit, my constant guardian be. Do to others be my motto, as I'd have them do to me.
Beautiful, Jordan. That was a Shaker hymn written in the 1900s by Polly Roop. I'm sure you've heard the expression, money talks. Or how about this one? Put your money where your mouth is. Meaning, in this case, of course, that we need to show by our actions and not just our words, our dedication to and support of our mission to create a world more compassionate, more sustainable, and more just. Our weekly offering, combined with annual pledges from members and friends of UUCM, is an opportunity for us to turn our words into action and fund projects that help serve our work in the world and directly benefit our community partners. 25% of our offering this whole month of August will support Community Beyond Violence, whose mission is to offer resources for building healthy relationships and to work with community partners to provide services for healing the effects of interpersonal violence. There are a number of ways we can offer our money, and here's Allison to tell you how you can give to UUCM.
Although we're not passing the basket in person, your generosity remains essential to our ability to sustain the work of our community. There are several ways to contribute. You may text an amount to 833-579-0483, give via our website at uugrassvalley.org, via PayPal at paypal.me/UUCM, or mail to UUCM 246 South Church Street, Grass Valley, California, 95945. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your generosity. We dedicate these offerings to the support of our individual and collective pursuit and practice of right speech and kind words gently spoken. And now I'd like to ask Jim and Carmen to come back here and show us what they've got. What happened to their crumpled papers? Ah, look at that. Flowers. Lovely. If you aren't seeing this, they've got delightful paper flowers. Now, the crafty among you, you guys can put them right in there. Thank you. The crafty among you might notice that the paper has been snipped away to be able to create the flower petals. And actually, there's an apt metaphor there. It is possible to trim away the bits that are no longer needed or necessary. And beauty can be both found and created in less than beautiful situations. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was a 19th century American poet and a famous Unitarian. He wrote a poem that kindergartners around the world learn, and there's hand gestures too. Carmen and Jim, will you please do them with me? And feel free to do them at home too, if you like. Kind hearts are the gardens. Kind thoughts are the roots. Kind words are the flowers. Kind deeds are the fruits. Take care of your gardens and keep out the weeds. Fill it with sunshine, kind words, and kind deeds. Thank you both so much. Thanks for your help with our garden project and also for your chalice lighting, reading Carmen, and for the land acknowledgement, Jim. And thank you also to Wendy for reading our wisdom story, to Jordan for your wonderful musical talents, to Shanti for the lovely setting. Carol in the office helped me so much with this service, especially finding the beautiful images that add so much. Thanks especially to the Reverend Meg Barnhouse for speaking to us from afar. And thank you to the Reverend Kevin Tarsa for all the detailed work you do for each service, even the ones you aren't preaching in. And lastly, but definitely most importantly, thank you, Bob Miller, joined today by Gary Lauer, for your expertise in all things audiovisual, technical, and plugged in and turned on. Thank you all for being here this morning. Let's sing together. There is more love somewhere.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more gold somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
Remember the way of the wind, and breathe and blow. Remember the way of the fire, and sparkle and glitter and glow. Remember the way of the water, and ebb and flow. Remember the way of the earth, and grow. Go in peace.
And though we extinguish our chalice lights, we know that we will carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. See you next Sunday with all intention at Congdon Park. But of course, please pay attention for communications that come from UUCM. COVID and or smoke may dictate alternative plans. So hopefully we'll be in Congdon Park with Reverend Karen Packard. The service will be, what does it mean to be connected? And also, you can get ready. If you'd like, you can turn on your video, and we'll unmute everyone shortly so you can say hello. You'll be invited to choose a breakout room for conversation. You can stay in the large group or come back to it at any time. Here's a list of today's breakout rooms.